Hi, it's Ms. Pretzel at the Appleton West Library, and I am book talking a realistic sports fiction book called Resball by Byron Graves. This is his debut novel. Looking forward to what else he has to write. So this is Byron Graves is an Ojibwa and grew up in Minnesota, and a lot of this is based on his own life. It is fiction, and he says a lot of the things, like he's experienced or other people experienced, so it's semi-biographical. So, it takes place on the Red Lake Ojibwa Reservation in Minnesota, and they have a basketball team called the Red Lake Warriors. And our main character is Trey Brunn, who is a sophomore, and he's kind of like grown a lot recently, and he has he loves to play basketball, and he works really hard. It starts out in the summer before his sophomore year, and his goal is to make varsity in his sophomore year because his brother Jake and his father before him were both called up to play varsity basketball when they were in 8th grade, but Trey, because he was small at the time, that didn't happen. So that's his goal. He and his family are mourning the loss of his brother Jackson, who died in a car accident about a year before. And let's just say Trey does eventually make the varsity basketball team, but not in the way that he plans. I really found myself, like, the author was able to bring me into this story. Like, I felt like I was there, like, part of the crowd cheering for Trey. I had found myself having to stop and look up basketball terms that I'd heard, but really didn't understand, but I wanted to understand so I could understand some of the things better, that Trey and his teammates were talking about. I really did enjoy this book. There aren't a lot of authors who actually write sports fiction, surprisingly, at least not for the YA crowd. And I just really became caught up in Trey's story because, like I said, and there were a lot of parallels to reading something maybe written by African Americans, because they talk about going to the mall in the neighboring town and how they're followed by security officers and just things like some of the things that the opposing crowd does and other things. It was kind of eye-opening in a lot of ways, surprising but not surprising too. And I just love that the author brought it. It's not a super long book, and like I said, I really felt the author brought me into Trey's story, and I was definitely rooting for Trey throughout this book. So I highly recommend this, whether you are just a realistic reader or whether you want to read something about Indigenous people, or whether you're a sports person. I think this covers a lot of ground. So I highly recommend Resball by Byron Graves. It did win a lot of awards, but I don't generally mention that because sometimes that's a turn off to kids. It was a good book. So if this is not your cup of tea, I'll have to find something else. Otherwise, have a fantastic day and keep on reading.